Bring Her Back is directed by Danny and Michael Philippou, who are more commonly known as the RackaRacka duo on YouTube. This is their second feature film after Talk to Me in 2023, which I really liked. It was actually one of my favorite horror movies of 2023. And so naturally I was very excited to see what they would do for their follow-up here. And this movie follows a brother and sister who witness a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their foster mother. And yes, in case you're wondering, I did just read the IMDb synopsis for that one. The reason is because I don't really want to give too much away about what's going on in this movie. I want to keep plot details vague. I'll talk about some of the aspects in the movie and, all that, but all in a spoiler-free form because I want you guys to see it for yourself. But like I said, I was going into it very excited because I quite like Talk to Me. And I heard this movie described by them as sort of a spiritual successor in some ways. And having seen the movie, I understand where they're coming from. I'll talk more about that aspect in a second, but I think once again, as far as the more scary sequences go and the horror filmmaking that they did very well with Talk to Me, they once again nailed it over here. This is even more insane and disturbing and over the top, I would say. There are things that happen in Bring Her Back that I think are incredibly unnerving and disturbing, and they will no doubt linger with you long after the credits have rolled. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I mean, a friend of mine who I watched it with this morning texted me before I, turned on the camera for this review about that exact thing, about how the movie hadn't really left him. But when it comes to the spiritual successor aspect of it, I think it also really goes to the themes and ideas that it's exploring. Much like Talk to Me, this movie also has aspects of grief and trauma and loss which have been sprinkled in. And the characters who we're following in this movie, they're all dealing with some level of it from things that they witnessed in their past and how it's defined who they are in the present. And it leads to some really good performances as well, like the brother and sister we're following, Andy and Piper. I think Billy Barrett and Sora Wong did a really great job over here. And as the movie progresses, seeing the places to where they go and, the limits to where, some of them are pushed because of what's happening, I think they played those moments really well too. I also really liked Jonah Wren Phillips. He plays Ollie, who was another kid who was at this house. This kid was phenomenal. I'm not going to say too much about who Ollie is and what Ollie is up to, but there is a certain sense of physicality to his performance that he plays very, very well, and it's a really, horror star making kind of performance. And that kind of brings me to another really incredible performance here, and that's Sally Hawkins. I think this is the first major horror movie I've seen her in, and I think she is incredible over here. As Laura, the foster mom, there is so much that is happening with her, and so much that is unraveling about her as the movie progresses. And each time you see a variation of her and what she's really presenting to the world and to the kids. And it's mesmerizing work from Hawkins. I think she's one of the great actresses that we have right now, and this movie really does prove that. But I also like that a lot of times you get these great performances from actors who've never really done horror movies before, and they're thrust into the genre. Which really, you get some work with this genre from actors, which is really unparalleled. I really have to say that. As I already mentioned, the horror sequences are very well done, but the entire movie in general is very well directed, because between those sequences you also have to give time to characters and you have to give them space to really, reflect upon things and to really understand where each of them is coming from. And I think that the movie does a very effective job of making sure that those scenes are also done with the same amount of importance as it is, to see a very crazy visual, for instance. Which is something that I always really respect when it comes to, the best of horror stories. Like, you have to be able to connect with the characters and understand where each of them is coming from, because then when the going gets tough, you are going along with them and you're either rooting for or against them depending on what you've learned about them. And how they tackle that over here, once again, just the amount of time that's been given to that is worth noting. Much like Talk to Me, there's also a very immersive soundscape to this movie. It's blaringly loud at parts, and certain sequences are extremely chilling to hear like the sound design for. Particularly in the back half of the movie, when you're seeing more and more things, the sound design over there is remarkable. Some exceptional work done over there. And I also think that the mythos that is built into the movie's story and what's happening when it comes to the things that you see and explaining some of those things, I think they mostly do an effective job. But there are aspects where I feel like the ideas, there are so many more that the Philippou brothers are trying to tackle as well, and sometimes I felt like those ideas could have been expanded on a bit more, because there's clearly a bigger world that they want to look into, and there are things that are brought up when it comes to what certain characters are discovering and they're learning, that I thought I would have liked to see a little bit more of that, because there are some decisions with characters later made which kind of involve a jump to that based on prior knowledge. But I'm so curious about how that prior knowledge came into effect in the first place that led to said action. But beyond that, I think Bring Her Back is a really good horror movie. I think it's a really great second effort from the Philippou brothers, and I can't wait to see what their third movie is going to be. I think they're on a roll over here, and I hope you guys get to enjoy it as well. It's out in theaters this weekend, and I'm gonna give Bring Her Back an 8.5 out of 10. I just really like that a lot of YouTubers, you're getting to see them on the big screen these days. I mean, you've seen the RackaRacka duo now do 2 movies. Chris Stuckman doing Shelby Oaks. I don't know when that's being released worldwide, but just the fact that people from this platform are getting out there now, bringing their craft to the bigger screen. It's really cool to see. That's one of those things where you hope to join in the ranks of someday. So, big inspirations in a lot of ways. Guys, thank you very much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.